wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Jess Hilarious, Charlamagne the guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building.
One of the best messengers in the Democratic Party.
That's right. We have
The best
Congresswoman
messenger.
Jasmine Crockett. Welcome back.
Good morning.
Good morning.
No,
you
wake
feeling?
up. Wake
Yeah.
up.
Tired
Wake
as
up.
hell.
I am.
You be
I'm
woke
so
when you be
tired.
clapping back. You better wake up in
I
here.
do, but we don't have any hearings this early. I just want to be clear. Nothing starts before 10 o'clock.
How are you, first and foremost? How you feeling?
I'm over it.
Damn.
It's only been, what, has it been 30 days yet?
I think it has.
This fool is driving me crazy.
Do you eat, sleep, and shit this, though? Like, do you mean, like, do you never, like, just turn the TV off, like, everything? Like, you know what? I don't want to think about it. I don't want to do nothing.
So as much as I don't want to think about it, I definitely stopped watching the news as much as I used to. But people are like DMing me. They're sending me emails. We're constantly getting phone calls. So no, I don't turn off.
Is there anything good that this administration has done so far? Anything that you can say, well, at least that's a good thing?
Huh?
Okay.
Not nothing. I saw Bernie
Not
Sanders post
nothing.
yesterday about he likes what Trump is attempting to do with the Pentagon by auditing them and stuff like that.
Okay, attempting. Let's see it happen. Here's the reality. I serve on the oversight committee. That's where all the drama typically happens. And we've had Department of Defense come before us a number of times. The vast majority of the waste, fraud, and abuse that we have in this country is Department of Defense. You can Google and find out that at some point in time we were spending like $1,000 per toilet or something. So like that's where we see these inflated costs. That's where we have a lot of contractors. That's where they play a lot of games. That's where Elon gets the vast majority of his money is out of defense. And when they come before us and we ask them about their audit, they haven't had a clean audit in the last 6 times we've asked for an audit. So the fact that they're going to start with people that are getting $6 a day to eat, or they want to go after the little old lady that's just trying to get her little health care and they believe that that's where the savings is, that's not where the savings is, nor is it going after career civil servants and saying, oh, let me take your coins, let me take your job. Because when we add up, even if we fired everybody that works for the federal government, it's only maybe 4 or 5% of our budget, but over or approximately 50% of our discretionary budget is defense, and they can't pass an audit. So why we didn't start there, where Elon has decided that he was going to get 2 new contracts just in 2 weeks, one for $400 million to Tesla, another for a little over $300 million to SpaceX. I don't know why we didn't start there, but it seems like we could find a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse because, again, they've not been able to pass an audit.
There is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government, though.
I'm not going to say that there's a lot. I'm going to say that it does exist. I'm going to say that it exists. I don't think that there's a lot. I think
So why are we so in debt then?
we're in debt because we decide that we're going to reduce the income, right? So under Trump in his first administration, we went into debt $8 trillion. Now, he wanted to say it was because of COVID. It really wasn't. Obviously, there was money that we sent out because people were in need during COVID to make sure that we didn't go into a recession. But at the end of the day, it was because he said, oh, wait a minute, that income, we're going to stop bringing that in from the top 1%ers. Well, those Trump tax cuts, they expire right about now. And he's trying to reinstitute them. So here it is. You've got Elon Musk running around talking about, I'm cutting this, I'm slashing this, I'm doing this and that, and da-da-da, all this kind of stuff, right? I do want to be clear that at the same time they're saying, but we got to raise the debt limit. Well, why do you have to raise the debt limit if we are saving all this money? You know why? Because they actually want to deepen the tax cuts for all those billionaires that were sitting on stage with him on January 20th. Those guys are looking to keep more money in their pocket. That is why. It's why we ran into debt last time. It's why we're going to run into debt again. The only time that we've had a budget that was clean and we didn't have to worry about debt, you know who was in office?
Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton, a Democrat. You know what the tax rate was? It was what Kamala Harris was proposing. That is not the tax rate that they are looking to do on the 1%ers.
School me on this too, right? Bill Clinton did the National Partnership for Reinventing Government. He essentially, Elon saying he's essentially doing the same thing Bill Clinton did as far as like, making the government smaller, more efficient. What do you say to that? What's the difference between what Clinton did in the 90s and what he's doing
So there's
now?
a lot that's different, but I do want to start with, because I actually looked at the numbers. We really were kind of big. We actually had more people working in the federal government when Bill Clinton was in office initially than we have now. You know what the difference is? The country's just a little bit bigger, right? So chances are you would need more. And we're talking about the people that are delivering your mail. You're talking about the people, because all y'all about to start calling us somebody I ain't got my tax refund check, okay? So like firing the IRS. We're talking about, you know, the people that do FAA so that the planes don't fall out the sky, right? So we have a lot more going on, and we literally don't even have as many people as we had working when he came in. So we were a little kind of bloated when it came down to it. But also, all presidents should have advisors, and that's essentially what he had, was an advisor. What they have said is that Elon is the one that cut off the spigot of money. Like, this is after money was appropriated, and then he's like, oh, no, you can't get that money. And now people are dying in other countries because USAID has stopped. And I want to be clear about something. You can shut down USAID if you want to, but that has to be done congressionally. Okay, that's number one. Number two, USAID is less than 1% of our budget. So they over here talking about something, oh, they handing out condoms and they doing this and all this kind of stuff. It's literally less than 1% of our budget because they don't want you to pay attention to the over 99% of the budget, where, yes, I would say most of the waste, fraud, and abuse is actually still at the hands of somebody like Elon Musk. Like these bootleg trucks that he decided that he was going to sell the federal government, I think maybe at $100,000. I don't know what the price is per truck or whatever, but he's selling these trucks at the same time that he's getting rid of all the people that were conducting investigations over him about Tesla, investigations about SpaceX. He got rid of all those people. And even in that interview that Trump just did, he's like asked by Fox News, of all places, right? He's asked, well, you know, who's going to oversee Elon and make sure his conflicts are good? He's like, oh, Elon is.
Elon gonna go oversee
Like, I'm
Elon.
like, wait a minute now. Like, I mean, because I got a whole body of people that's over me. Like, I don't just get to decide what is like right and wrong. And honestly, I'm not allowed to take any money. Like, I have to live a very poor life right now, right? Like,
And you could be getting paid.
I could be getting paid. I made more money before. I will make more money after. But right now, I am living not in the overflow. No, I mean,
That ain't
and
what the
that's,
internet don't say, Jasmine. The internet say you got
yeah,
houses and you work
Elon, yeah,
$8 million.
They said you got some bread.
Listen, no. I had to shut them down because first they said that I had a husband. No husband, y'all. First they said I had a husband, and they said that I was paying him $500,000 to keep me safe. And people were like, he should be doing that for free. And I was like, I don't know if y'all mix up the black girls or if y'all just think every black girl that comes to Congress brings a husband who has to live off. That's not what it is, okay?
Right.
No husband, never been married, never been engaged, all right? That's number one. So then they said, well, she's worth $9 million and she's got all these homes. Let me tell you something. When I first got to Congress, about 2 weeks in, there was a case that I had been working for 7 years. It was a civil rights case, one of my last 2 civil rights cases, and I still got one pending. So just so y'all know, if I got to resign, I'm going to resign. But nevertheless, it goes to trial. I'm unable to participate because I'm not supposed to be, but I'm in this wind down period. It actually hits for about $22 million, all right? So ethics says you can't collect your attorney's fee on that at all. Now, mind you, I worked this case before I ever ran for Congress, right? So, like, that gives you an idea of how far they go when it comes to the... No, but here's the deal. I would have resigned, and I will resign. I'm not finna play with my money. Like, y'all tripping, because I worked on that case for 7 years.
Yep.
It was against a very small city that literally can't pay it. Now, if for some reason they go find the coins, then absolutely, I'm resigning, forcing a special election, and I'll win, right? But I do have another one that is pending, and it's pending against the city of Dallas. And the officer in that case actually pled guilty. If the city of Dallas does pay up, you heard it here first. I am resigning, and it will be a 7-figure payday for me because as an attorney, yeah, we do have cases that hit for millions of dollars. It's not really that odd. The thing is that I've always been a bleeding heart liberal. I have. So I was doing more criminal defense than anything. I wasn't really doing a lot of the big $1 million cases unless I was helping out the homies. I've got plenty of cases where I've gone into court, help homies get 7-figure results, but that never was me. I just wanted to be comfortable, and now I got deal with Congress.
So you said you can resign and then run again, you said? that what you said?
Yeah, I'm gonna collect my check.
Resign, get that money. Then
Yeah.
No,
And then
because there's mad billionaires in Congress.
That part.
Yeah.
And they only got upset about this lie. I'm like, first of all, why y'all mad? If this was true, why is this a problem? It's a problem just because I'm a black woman for most of them, right? Because they still not mad that Elon literally made another $100 and something billion since the election. Y'all not mad at this African man?
But let me ask you a question. You think a lot of the stuff that Trump is doing now is to quiet that? Is we possibly gonna give you guys $5,000
as a distraction.
We possibly gonna take the
Yeah.
congestion prices, say hello to the king. You think he's doing those things to say, you know what? All the rest of that stuff, these people won't even check me because they think I'm doing this.
That's exactly right. He knows that they're not going to check him, right? Like, I mean, you can go back and play the clips of him talking about how he loves the uneducated, right? If he would ever run for president, he would run as a Republican. Like, and we know, like, this isn't me trying to throw shade. These are just the facts. When you look at who's voting for who, the less educated folk, and when I say educated, I'm not even talking about formal education. I'm talking about people that literally don't want to read and enlighten themselves on facts. Those are the people that typically vote for the Republicans, and it's one of the reasons that we have to stop writing in theses as Democrats, right? Like, we want to give you every single little detail that we can find so that you can have all the information. But the reality is that the average person that is going out there and voting, they're not paying attention to that. And we fail to realize how selfish people are. People go out and they vote in their own self-interest, right? And so you had all these racists that showed up and decided that they were going to vote for the other races because they thought, hey, we are all the same. But the reality is that he is a rich racist, okay? And so when he decided that he was going to look out for somebody, it was only going to be other rich white guys, not the rest of y'all. So as you're losing your job, as you're losing your Medicaid, as you're losing your farm, you're feeling away because you're like, wait a minute, you were supposed to go after the others, not come after us. And now they're saying, oh, well, we'll give you a $5,000 check. I don't see it happening right now. That is not a part of the budget that they have proposed. That is for sure. So they just had a markup. So this is the first that they're ever talking about this. The budget that they proposed, where they went through a 13-hour markup just the other day, proposed getting rid of Medicare. So, I mean, theoretically, they should have the money if you decide that people won't have health care in this country, which costs a little bit more than $5,000 a person. But the reality is that they're not going to do that.
It's so interesting. I said that 18 months after he got sworn in, I felt like, the economy was just going to be in the toilet. And I felt like that's what they were going to do. Like, they were going to do either the tax credits or the stimulus checks just to pacify all of the people that's going to be out in the street complaining. I mean, you got 12,000 federal workers already fired, and it hasn't even been a month?
No. I mean, what's today? The 19th? He swore in January 20th. So, yeah, we are, and what I need people to understand is that $5,000, even if you get it, is not going very far because we are headed to a recession.
That's
That
right.
is the bottom line. People talked about how terrible the economy was, and that was more so like things were expensive, but people were absolutely able to still enjoy all these plane rides because every time I caught a flight, it was absolutely packed, right? And so, yes, it was expensive, but you could pay for it. You're going to end up in a situation where you're not going to be able to afford the food. Right now, you're getting rid of the people that labor in the fields, right? Because here's the reality. When you look back at the history of this country, they have always relied on some person of color to labor. That is why they needed slave labor, right? Like, we were the ones that they took onto the plantations to work the fields. And so we know that we have so many immigrants that come into this country, and their only thing that they're looking for is a way to survive. And so they will work for the pennies that is paid to actually work the farms, and that keeps the cost of our food down. But when they send their money home, it goes a long way. And so their family is able to live a better life than they would have been able to live if they were still there, where they didn't have the job opportunities, right? But these are also the people that are building our houses. As you're complaining about the cost of homes, now we have another input cost that's about to go up because, listen, these people aren't showing up. I just talked to contractors down in Atlanta, Georgia, that talked about the fact that their workers are not showing up to work because they are concerned about whether or not they are going to come and try to take them away. And this is even if you are a citizen, because ICE is so ignorant. They rounded up everybody.
Yeah.
They rounded up Puerto Ricans. They are Americans, right? They are rounding up Native Americans. They are the most American that you can find, right? Like, they are rounding up everybody. So people of color are like, yo, I am not even going to work, right? So now you're talking about costs going up, but you're also talking about less people working. The United States is the 15th largest employer in the entire world, right? So now they're like, oh yeah, all those people we're firing, they can just go to private industry. The jobs don't exist. And private industry is signaling that they know that the recession is coming. Southwest has never done a layoff like what they did in the entire existence of Southwest, and they just cut 15% of their workforce. So we're seeing where private industry is starting to collapse and starting to actually reduce their workforce instead of increase it. So where are these people going to go? And people don't realize how many organizations, private or otherwise, rely on federal dollars in some way. And now you're saying we're going to take those federal dollars out, but we're not putting them back into people's pockets. We're putting them into the pockets of my friends. So now Elon is going to get more money. Now I'm going to figure out how to serve myself, because he also told his Department of Justice, do not enforce the marijuana laws, right, on the books. Do not enforce the fact that there's this disparity between crack and cocaine on the federal level, but do not enforce foreign influence laws. Okay, well, I'm sorry. I had nobody from the hood get caught up because they were engaged in some kind of foreign influence.
That's a fact.
I mean, so who is it that typically gets caught up? It's people with access. And so now basically he's signaling to all of these people that have tried to corrupt our government, come on through, drop off a bag. In fact, y'all just had a senator nearby that just went down. They just gave Menendez 11 years for the exact thing that he's telling his Department of Justice, do not enforce this. That's where we are.
How do you feel about that? Because, it seems like if you're cool with Trump, you get a pardon. If you're cool with Trump, he'll tell you don't prosecute him. Recently, we've seen Eric Adams not being prosecuted. What's your thoughts on that?
If you're cool with Trump, you get paid.
Listen, my thought is that I'm still black in America and I ain't finna play no kind of games.
Word.
So I am gonna walk the straight and narrow for a number of reasons. Number one, I have some morals about myself. And number two, I know that they would love an opportunity to lock me up, right? Like I would be the exception to the rule. But you're absolutely right. I mean, Canada has really been the one to call it out. The fact that I'm rooting for Canada and I'm rooting for Mexico a lot is really wild. But they are really the ones that are speaking truth to power right now. They can see what it is. And they were like, we are not messing with this crazy regime from Mar-a-Lago, and basically calling them thugs. That's what it is. But I'm like, y'all knew who he was when y'all elected him. So don't act surprised. You elected somebody who was actually convicted by a jury of his peers of 34 felony convictions. Again, if it was me, there's no way. I mean, right now, I ain't got no convictions, no arrests, no nothing. And I would never be qualified for president in this country in the eyes of the vast majority of them. But a guy who literally not only ended up becoming a convicted felon, but also had other cases that were pending in other jurisdictions, oh yeah, he's good to go.
You just said something that I've been thinking about. Why do people still talk like Donald Trump is campaigning as opposed to like he's actually here right now in the flesh doing what it is that he's doing? Like they still talk like, they talk like they can stop this. Like I saw the governor of Illinois, JB, what's his name?
Pritzker.
Yes, he was talking, but I'm like, that should have been said 4 years ago.
Yeah.
The things that he was saying. It's like why are they talking like he's still campaigning?
I'm going to say this. I think that there's two things. I think that, again, Democrats are so cerebral that we were like, of course nobody's going to vote for him again. They'll remember the dead bodies that were piling up in freezer trucks in New York. They'll remember that he was telling people to inject bleach. They'll remember that, they were losing their jobs. They did not know if their family members were going to live or die. They will remember. We thought people would remember. And then we started to realize way too late that a lot of people forgot. All they remembered, it was almost like our brains would not remember the bad. All they remembered was like things like a $1,200 check. But they didn't remember how they got it. Right? Like they didn't remember Pelosi. They didn't remember the Democrats were controlling the House at the time. Like they didn't remember that part of the story.
Well, that's because Democrats suck at messaging and marketing.
Well, we're still working. But I will say the other part of this, though, about Pritzker is that I think what we're trying to do is at least make sure that people wake up, because there are things that we can do. I don't accept defeat. I mean, if I accepted defeat, here's the reality. I wouldn't be sitting here before you. My ancestors never accepted defeat, so I won't either. Did he win? Absolutely. Are we defeated? Absolutely not. And so now
concede
the
the election,
House,
don't concede the Constitution.
absolutely. I like that. Look at you with your alliteration. Okay, there we go. So here's the deal. We know that the House is only a 3-member difference. 3 members going to the Democratic side means that we control the House and we start slowing things down. We have 3 seats that are about to be up. We have 2 seats that are up right now. We have another one that will be up in New York. And so I'm telling people, put all your energy into these 3 seats because I can't wait 2 years. Like, I'm tired of him already. So we need an opportunity to start stopping him. So I do want governors like Pritzker to give people this belief and this hope. And I want people to go out and say, you know what, I don't have very much money, but I think that it's worthwhile for me to give my $10 to these people that are running in Florida, to give money to whoever is going to ultimately run here in New York. I think it's worth my time to show up and actually knock on some doors and talk to people and listen to people and ask them, why did you vote for Trump? And Trump would still be your president, but don't you want this to slow down a little bit? Don't you want somebody to say, hey, wait a minute, we think that it's important that Social Security still exists, and the only thing that will stand between you and your Social Security is potentially having a Democratic House. And it doesn't mean you're a Democrat, but it does mean that you believe in a Democratic Republic. And so I want us to work these 3 seats right now because one of the elections, Florida, will take place on April 1st.
So those are the guardrails that are in place to protect, people like the federal workers from what Elon Musk and Donald Trump are currently doing.
As it relates to that part, the guardrails are the courts. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing that we have standing right now. And I'm concerned that ultimately the high court belongs to him. So I know he's trying to get those cases up to the Supreme Court again, get them to dismantle the Constitution a bit, dismantle laws a little bit. But the fact that they push back on TikTok, of all things, like, just forget the subject matter. But ultimately, in a 9-0 decision, when it came down to TikTok, they said, oh, never mind. Like, no, you can't do that. That was signed into law. Whether you like it or not, it was signed into law, and you can't just unilaterally overturn that. So I think that we may have a little help from them when it comes down to things like, once Congress appropriates something, you can't do anything about it. Now, here's the thing. It'll never make it to the Supreme Court in time because this last funding bill runs out on March 14th. We won't get to the Supreme Court by March 14th to get a decision, but we potentially will have a new budget, and that budget should be done, because he does have a Trump trifecta. It should be done in the image of what it is that they want to deliver. And so we'll see if they can get it done. I don't know. I think we're shutting down on March 14th.
On March 14th?
Mm-hmm.
You think the government's going to shut down?
Yeah. I mean, the last time we shut down was under Trump. Wow. And we shut down, I think, at least 2 times, and the longest shutdown we've ever had in the history of this country came under Trump. And right now, they have a slimmer majority than they had when I was in the 118th session. So right now, they can only lose 1 vote. 1 Republican vote can vote against it. So if all Democrats show up and vote against it, which we should, they can only lose 1. Right now, I don't see how they get it passed, but we'll see. They can get it past the Senate. Mm-hmm. I don't see how they get it past the House.
Why do you think people still love him so much? And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like us. Like, why are there some of us that still favor him? Like, why is he still so, like, he has such a high approval rate, Trump?
I don't know that. I ain't gonna say he got a high approval rate. He is doing better in his approvals than
it's
he
people like
typically.
Us that like a lot of black people.
You don't mean literally
fighting
for it.
No, I think he does because they put out a poll, and I think his approval rating was 53%.
Yeah,
she's talking about black people though, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about us. Like, there's so many of us like that.
Yeah, I can't explain
this man.
I can't explain it. I have no explanations. The only thing that I can say is that number one, I'm happy to know that Trump is an anomaly. People continue to try to be the next Trump. They are not, right? Like, we've seen it with DeSantis. He's not. We've seen it with Vivek Ramaswamy. He's not. Elon Musk, his numbers continue to drag him down, right? For whatever reason, Elon's numbers go down and Trump's still kind of linger about the same or go a little bit higher. I will say that there is a cultural aspect to Trump that is unique and unlike anything we've ever experienced. And I think that was another failure that we had in the campaign overall, is to understand that he's different. He's different. This is a guy who's had his name on buildings forever.
That's right.
And people have been like, oh, he owned it. Not really. His name is just on it, right? And so he's very good at creating this perception. He's created this perception of I am that guy, right? And he literally became the closest thing to Teflon Don that we have seen, right? Like, who has this many cases in this many jurisdictions?
He's more Teflon.
And yeah, I know.
Because of presidential immunity.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. But I'm just saying. So I think that from a cultural aspect, like he used to be talked about in rap songs and things like that, I think it's hard for you to then say, oh no, he's a terrible person. Because there's been this kind of aura around him that was created, which may have been okay for TV, may have been okay for music, may have been okay for casinos, but it ain't okay in the Oval Office. Like, I need y'all to separate the two. Like, like I don't need it to be that everybody that kind of walks in that lane is now somehow qualified to be president of the United States, because it takes different qualities. And I think that that's why it's been so hard to kind of tear him down, is because he's different. I don't think these people are necessarily Republicans. I don't think they're necessarily going over to that side. I don't think they're necessarily MAGA. I think that they are just Trumpers, like, period. And I think MAGA is supposed to be a movement, but I believe that once he is out of the, like, way, right? Like, once he's out of the presidency, if he leaves, Jesus, because he decided he a king now. But if he leaves the presidency, I don't see anybody else being able to take up the mantle. He already said J.D. Vance ain't the one.
Yep.
Like, I mean, there's nobody else that will be able to take up that mantle because he is unique.
Well, child, what is on your shirt right
ready to
there?
say I love the hoodie.
What is on your shirt? Break down what's on your shirt, child.
Yes. So we dropped the child collection.
The child collection.
After Nancy Mace acted like she wanted to take me outside. So
She wanted 5 minutes with you.
She
She made me nervous.
I don't have time.
We got to jump her. You can't fight. You can't shoot her fair one.
Can't talk about jumping up
I'm just
Congresswoman.
joking.
All right,
No,
you joke until
but-
they pull your ass over. You don't. You ice, baby. You ain't want to. You sit right there.
I am an American citizen and I'm black.
Listen, no, that's
What was
no.
going
So
through your mind when she asked you? Well, I'd like to take this outside.
Well,
now, you know she graduated
I
from the
wanted
man
to-
military school.
I don't
What?
care.
The man military.
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
She was the
Citadel.
first woman to graduate from the Citadel, which is an all-male military school.
Yeah, right. So DEI helped her. Just FYI. Okay. Because it didn't exist, and there were people that did not want a woman in the institution, but her father actually taught at the institution, and so she wanted to be just like her dad, and so they sued. They went to the courts so that she could get in as a woman, and now she is the very same woman that wants to do like a bunch of the same immigrants that somehow get over here, get their citizenship, and then they like, forget everybody else coming behind me. She is the same. And so she claims that she's been a champion for women, and that's why she's against trans people, but she forgets that she benefited from diversity, equity, and inclusion like most white women, because white women are the vast majority of the beneficiaries of DEI policies. But that's a whole other issue. But when she said, let's take it outside, you know, I really want to be like, let's go. Now, I knew that I couldn't, because again, they would have been trying to expel me.
Yeah.
And if the tables were turned, if I had said that to her, the Karen would have been calling everybody to come through and come grab me, and they would have had me on the floor for an expulsion for trying to incite violence against another member of Congress, literally in a committee hearing. But instead, they said, well, maybe she meant go outside for coffee.
I
Did they
do
really
be
say
you know
that?
what though? I do be
They
thinking
did.
that though.
That's what they said.
I be thinking that these people are so old and so culturally clueless that they don't understand.
No.
Nah,
He was
even in the way
laughing
she
when he
said
did
it.
it. No.
Because
he-
even when you did your bad Bill Bush bodies, the guy was like, "What? What
yeah,
happened?"
it's the same guy.
And then
It's
even
the
you
same
saying,
guy.
He knew,
because even you saying
they know what's
child,
up.
Nancy was like,
I
"I'm
am
not
not a child.
right?
I'm not a child.
Now, I do think that she is culturally unaware, even though she's always bragging about how many black people she represents in her district in South Carolina. Black people in South Carolina, wake up! Get rid of her.
We went to high school together.
That's
You
Sean, my
said-
homie.
But I mean,
Well, she's. Anyway, I'm not gonna cuss.
You said she needed to
But
be worried about
she-
the economy down there.
She does, because South Carolina about to catch it, just like all these other
all of the
southern-
red states.
All of them.
Yeah.
They about to catch it the hardest. Like, you think you're quote unquote owning the libs, but guess what? New York has money, okay? Guess what? California has money, right? The ones that are broke and need the money that New York and
That's a
California pay into is you little red states down south, the vast majority of y'all. Y'all are the ones that are broke, and y'all are the ones that are constantly bleeding population as well, right? Like, we know that these small states, like, people are moving to the big cities, which tend to be in the bluer states, right, where there are more opportunities. So, but Nancy, you know, she now wants to run for
she wanted to take it outside because they going through all of that.
No, she just wants to try to elevate her name and her status. So she's allegedly talking about running for governor
in 2026.
Don't do it. Don't do it, South Carolina. But if you look into her, like, she's had so much staff that has resigned. She is consistently being accused of all types of inappropriateness when it comes to, like, sex stuff in general. So
What do you mean?
beyond her, I'll just say that in committee, right, in that same hearing, she was talking about, quote unquote, chicks with
Penises.
Oh, okay.
Correct. Yeah, so she was doing, like, all that kind of stuff. So she constantly, like, throws the word around in committee and that kind of thing. But she's also been accused of talking to staff about her sex life and making them uncomfortable. And so she's had staff resign, alleging that she is very inappropriate.
She did just say she was a victim of rape and sexual abuse
She
on the House
also
floor, though.
did that with a lot of protections. So people don't know that if you go on the House floor, you can pretty much say anything, and people can't sue you. It's the debate clause. Yeah, I forget the other part of it. But anyway,
What do you mean? They
speech
can't
and
sue you?
debate. Speech and debate clause means that when you are in the chamber and you're on the floor and you say certain things, I can say something defamatory, and I can't be sued.
Oh, wow.
So the theory is this, is that she decided, now that she's getting ready for this gubernatorial, she decided to kind of head off some potential bad headlines by going onto the House floor and accusing not one, not two, but 3 men of sexually abusing her and recording it and drugging her. So the thought is that maybe there's a sex tape that's about to come out. And so if she went on the floor, they can't do anything about it. Now, she's not filed charges against any of them. She just went on the floor, made these accusations, but did not go and file a case against anybody. Now, if she files a case against somebody and she's found to be lying, that is a crime. But she could go on the floor and accuse them of whatever, and they can't sue her.
Gotcha.
So interesting place to go and report. Most
What happened
people,
to believe all women, Jasmine?
I ain't never said that.
Oh, okay.
That was another one.
Okay.
You get confused with somebody else.
I ain't never said that.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Is it true that somebody else that works for another sitting member, they had called in and said that they was betting on a fight?
Oh yeah,
between
they
y'all.
wanted to see a
Who
fight.
was that? What was that?
I don't know who it was. But we have Capitol Police.
Yo, shut up, man.
We have Capitol Police following up on that because they called during working hours on a house phone, and they were so smart that they didn't realize that all calls made on house phones are recorded. So it is recorded. We know which member's office it came from. It was a Republican out of Texas whose office it came from.
They were trying to bet on the
bet
floor.
on a
Yeah,
fight
and they
between
well
you
they
and Nancy.
yeah. So
That's-
they called my office and was like, yeah, this is what we want to see. Blah 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 blah. We trying to place a bet. Some random staffer called my office.
Shut up.
It's the audacity for
No,
it.
I can see why they would want to see it, but this is what I'm saying, right? Do you think that Congress could get more done if y'all actually did throw hands every now and
No.
then? Just like hockey. No, just real quick, 30 seconds, then
No.
y'all get it out and
No.
go back.
No.
You don't
We don't
think
want
so?
you fighting. Jeff.
No.
We don't want you
No.
fighting.
I do want to ask you this, 'cause I know you got to go. Why don't Democrats sit down Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries? They all represent an old way of doing things that don't work anymore. People like yourself, AOC, y'all know how to communicate. Y'all know how to message. Why don't they let y'all be front-facing in the party? What are they holding on to? I know their positions, but forget the position. If they're not connecting with people, why are they the ones that are out front but not y'all?
What do you mean out front? I think you're referencing myself and AOC because we have been out front.
No, definitely. But when they talk about actual Democratic leadership and who the leaders are, it's
Oh, well,
always,
that's a
they
matter
always
of-
point to them because of the position that they're in.
Yeah.
But to me, that's just a position.
I get it. And both of us ran for leadership positions and we were rejected by our
But that's because
colleagues.
of those old, that's because of those people who represent an old way of doing things.
I get it.
If they open their eyes and actually see what's going on in the world and who's connecting, who can lead us into the next generation, clearly it should be you and people like AOC in leadership positions.
I get it. I will say that Hakeem decided that I can't speak for the Senate because I don't know what all is going on over there. But Hakeem decided to start a rapid response team, which is something that I proposed when I was running to become our communications director. And so I am a part of that rapid response team. And so it's just now starting to kind of take shape. And so basically my job is to officially kind of get out there and do some videos. I'm really supposed to do some lives with some other people that are on that rapid response team so that like when things happen in real time, we're responding. But another thing, I mean, there's just a lot that we could be doing, and I'm hoping that we get a lot more aggressive, right? Because I think
you
the
are.
stance,
I don't like when you lump yourself with them.
well,
Hakeem them need to get more aggressive.
well, I'll say
They be on some sucky shit.
Well, I'll say is that, like, for instance, there's been this kind of attitude of, well, we can't deal with all the stuff that he got coming out. Like, we not going to be able to. And I get that to a certain extent. But I do think that at a very minimum, it provides some semblance of comfort and confidence for the American people when they see us pushing back every single day.
That's right.
And it may not be every single thing that he does in a day, but pushing back on like the thing of the day, right? Like we literally need to be like, okay, so this is the dumb thing for the day, right? Like just a little, even if it's 5 minutes, like this the big one for the day, right? And we go after it. And so I think that we do have to get more aggressive and decide every single day, like this is just what it is. Like I told my staff, I'm like, y'all had it good last term. I know y'all thought y'all didn't, but I'm like, we actually now have to work 10 times harder than we did before because we've got to make sure people understand how bad these policies are and what's happening. If we don't communicate it in real time, then we're doomed. That was the problem even when we were trying to get the White House back, is that we did not communicate in real time the good things we were doing. Right. Now they're like, oh, wait a minute. So the overdraft fees, that was Joe Biden that reduced it so it wasn't more than $5 per overdraft. And now the Republicans have filed a bill saying, you know what, we want those overdraft fees to go back up because, again, they're looking out for the rich people, not the people who is struggling. Who has overdraft fees? Is it the rich people or is the people living check to check? So the people that kept saying, oh, no, he's for the middle class. No, he's not. No, he's not. And they tried to convince you that the Democrats had done nothing, but they had consistently done things for the middle class. It's just that, and so even when Democrats are like, oh, we're not the party of the middle class anymore. Yes, we are. Our policies are clear because overdraft fees, that's not for rich people. But now it is about to be for rich people. You know why? Because again, we're seeing a government that wants to prey on those that are struggling so that others at the top can benefit to some ridiculous amount of money. And that's what we're about to go through. So I'm just like, listen, if you were broke and thought he was your guy, well, God bless you.
All right.
Hakeem Jeffries could never talk like that. I just want you to know that.
All right.
Chuck Schumer could never speak the way you just spoke. I just want you to
alone.
know that.
Thank you,
Okay.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. We appreciate you.
We appreciate your service.
I appreciate
Thank
y'all.
you so much. It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.